and just slowly untighten the bolt. Hi, welcome back to CarsAddiction.com. If you're new to the channel, I'm Ryan and we share car-related content every Wednesday and Sunday. Wednesday is a short snippet of any car encounter I come across, and Sunday is a full-fledged video of a project I'm doing, one of my cars, or anything else car-related. Now for today we're going to be talking about center lock wheels and how to remove and apply them back to the car. Now center lock wheels are actually easier to remove because they only have one bolt compared to a standard wheel which has 5. But since there's one point of failure and it requires specific torque settings, there is like a procedure to go through, and this is what I'm going to be talking about throughout this video. So let's start with the tools that you require. So what is required? You need a center lock tool, flat screwdriver, a torque wrench up to 600 Newton meters, a breaker bar, aluminium paste, and what is optional is this wheel alignment tool and a reverse grip. Now the reverse and alignment tool are optional because you could actually have a person helping you out to guide the wheel off the car. The wheel is very heavy, and you could put a person to hold the brake pedal to remove the wheel. Now let's go here. This is provided free in your car. It's located at the bottom right in the front. There's a small compartment. Lift the tab out and you find that hidden in there. If it's missing, I'll provide a part number where you can buy one. You'll need a flat screwdriver just to remove the center caps, because when the center lock tool have to go into that. You'll need a torque wrench that can withstand 600 Newton meters. Now those kind of torque wrenches are actually very long. This one is about 300. Now the reason I went with this is actually my complete setup involves a multiplier. The reason I went with this setup is so that if I go abroad or something, or a long road trip, I can easily put this inside the car. Because if I had the 600 Newton meter torque wrench, that would have been too long to fit into the frunk. So like this, I'm able to have 600 Newton meters of torque and in a compact size. Now there's another tool actually from Precision Instruments which is collapsible, and that would have been ideal, but they don't provide shipping to Europe. I'll provide all these parts in the description below with links. A breaker bar that's telescopic, just lift this and it extends more. You cannot use the torque wrench to loosen the wheel, so you need something separate. Now aluminum paste, Porsche recommends a Kestrel. But from Renlist, I found out there's this motorcycle paste that is exactly the same thing at a fraction of the price. I'll provide again a link in the description below where you can buy that from Amazon, and whatever else parts we use. So basically that's all the parts we need, and yeah, so let's start removing the wheel. So let's start with the removal. We're gonna get our flat screwdriver, remove the center cap. Once that is removed, we'll just check if the center locking pin is moving freely. This is to ensure that there was no problems to start off with. Get our center locking tool, slide that in. Make sure the handbrake of the car is engaged. We don't want the car rolling while we try to remove the wheel. Now if we're removing the front wheel, you have to make sure the reverse grip is in place, or there's someone inside the car holding the brake for you. We're gonna start untightening the bolt on the ground. Now the Porsche manual says do everything in the air, but since this is 600 Newton meters torqued in there, that's gonna take a lot of force to take off. And it's not something you wanna do on jack or something like that, because it's gonna do a lot of force on the bolt, and since it's very close to the body, you might have chance of scratching your car. Now I have a breaker bar over here, which is 1/2 inch, and this is a multiplier from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. So that's what we're gonna do. And you're just gonna unbolt it until it's enough for you to continue up in the air. Now we're gonna lift the car and continue on bolting that in the air. And then continue by hand once we're in a position to do so. Now the Porsche manual tells us to do everything in the air. I don't see any harm doing this, the first part on the floor, since 600 Newton meters takes a lot of force, and that is a bit too much to do in the air. So once we have the bolt out, what we're gonna do is put on our center locking tool. That just bolts in this way. Very straightforward, and slide out the wheel. As you can see, that wheel is going to be very heavy. It's so wide and 19-inch wheel that center lock tool comes very helpful not to chip anything on the rotor, especially if we have PCCP brakes. So we'll just put the wheel aside. So once the wheel is off, we can inspect the three parts of the center lock setup. One is the hub. We want to make sure that these bolts right over here, all 5 of them, don't have excessive wear on them. So we can quickly say that there is none present all around. Second thing is that we want to make sure that we have paste on this part over here, about 1 centimeter wide. We don't want to have a thin layer of paste, which can result that the wheel is not mounted properly onto the hub. And lastly, for the hub, we want to make sure that inner bit over there is full of paste. What's in right over here. Then we jump into the bolt. Now again, we inspect that the bolt has paste on it. Again, not a thin layer of paste around the ring, that we have paste all over the place. That's all good. The last part of the setup is the wheel. Again, we make sure that there is paste all around this point where the bolt sits around the circumference. Again, making sure that there's no thin line of paste, but there's substantial paste to go all around. So again, make sure there's paste all around, that there's enough nice thickness to it, and that there's no excessive wear on these bolts right over here, or maybe even if we check the rear of the wheel. So that is basically what they inspect for at the Porsche Center. This is all needed because instead of 5 points of failure, and if one fails, you have the 4 lugs sort of holding the wheel in place. In this case scenario, if that one bolt fails, your wheel is toast. So this inspection is actually required when working with a center lock wheel. So while the wheel is out, what I'm going to do is remove the old paste and reapply it everywhere. So I'm making sure I have new paste all around. Now you can skip this part if your paste is, has been applied recently. Now while you're doing this, you might as well inspect the pads and the thickness of the disc, making sure there's no edges or anything of that sort. Again, the wheel alignment tool is so useful not to chip one of these ceramic brakes. I think they cost around 10,000 euros or so, and you need to replace both sides at the same time. You cannot just replace one side. So this is what the aluminum paste looks like. It's called Optomolit paste. This is for a BMW motorcycle, but it's exactly the same what Porsche uses at a fraction of the price. I'll provide a where to buy this from Amazon in the description below. What we have done is apply the even area all over the hub over here, inside the treads, and on the splines right in here. We went ahead and done that onto the center lock bolt, even all around. Now obviously every other 6,000 miles this has to be completely disassembled and repaste in different areas of the bolt, but we're not doing that because we haven't done that much mileage. Additionally, the center locks, I guess, need to be replaced as well after a certain number of miles. Okay, so the pace is as well on the wheel, bolt and the hub. Final thing is actually mounting the wheel back onto the car. We have to make sure to align these bolts to the ones onto the car to avoid, like hunting for them. Now, let's not forget to put back our center locking tool in place. That easily slides into place. Now I'm going to be removing the gloves because I'm making a mess with the aluminum paste. Okay, now the wheel is sitting onto the hub. I'm going to remove that center lock tool. Just going to remove any excessive paste. Now what is left is put the bolt that we have prepared beforehand with the paste back onto the car. And make sure the wheel is flush with the face of the hub and sit this in by hand. Now we have our multiplier and torque wrench set up. Now our multiplier is with a gear ratio of 1:3.33, and we need to torque the wheel to 600 Newton meters. So that means we need to set our torque wrench at roughly 181 Newton meters of torque. Okay. We're going to torque it in slowly. Tightening it slowly. While you have it significantly tightened, you could actually complete this process on the floor if you fear that you're doing too much pressure while the wheel is up and you don't have proper mounting points. Now we've tightened it as much as we can up in the air. Want to continue the last bit on the ground. The Porsche manual does tell you to do everything up in the air, but there's so much torque to be made. I feel more comfortable doing it on the ground. I see that there's not going to be an issue of this moving around with that much pressure that we already did. The reason that Porsche wants you to do up to 600 Newton meters, just in case you're going to be tracking the car and there's going to be a lot of forces onto this area. Obviously, just pushing the car onto the floor, this bolt is not going to go nowhere with the pressure that it already has. So what we're going to do is, again, continue torquing it to 600 Newton meters. Okay, that's it. Now the manual says to release the bolt. Once you tighten it, the first 600 Newton meters on the first round is to untighten it 90 degrees backwards. So that's what we're gonna do. This is so that the lock mechanism can properly engage from the bolt onto the hub. Okay, that's about 90 degrees. And let's torque it again back to 600 Newton meters. Okay, and that's it. All that's left is put in the center cap, but before we do so, we make sure the locking mechanism is moving freely. If it's not moving freely, what you have to do is go ahead and try to untighten it until that pops out and tighten it again. This just pops in where the bottom of the crest reaches the nudge, and you just push that in. And that's it. The process actually comes quicker when you do this 2 or 3 times. Because you know what to inspect and you can quickly, indicate if there's an issue or not. But unbolting and bolting is actually quite faster than actually having 5 lugs. Thanks for watching the video. I hope this was very helpful for you guys. Thanks for watching. Take care.